to another edition of News Bites here on Daily World Television. My name is Cal Korff and I'm your host. American President Donald Trump has now finished his meeting with British Prime Minister Theresa May. The media and people who love to fawn all over May and are nostalgic for the 1980s are claiming that this is kind of a rebirth or modern reincarnation of what used to be known as the Reagan-Thatcher era. This was back when Britain had its first female prime minister, Margaret Thatcher, who was nicknamed the Iron Lady. And then, of course, America had conservative Ronald Reagan. To compare Donald Trump and Theresa May's relationship with Reagan and Thatcher, however, is stretching it quite a lot. It's actually disingenuous. There is no comparison. Theresa May is not the conservative that Margaret Thatcher was, nor is she such a hardcore seasoned politician. There's no comparison. Ronald Reagan is nowhere near what Donald Trump is like, and Donald Trump is certainly no Ronald Reagan. Although Trump says he admired Reagan but disagreed with him on how the issues of trade were handled, retrospect is, or hindsight is always 20/20, to call this a rebirth of the Thatcher-Reagan era is simply factually incorrect. Now, what is going on with these two leaders? What did they talk about? This was, after all, Donald Trump's first meeting with a foreign head of state, and it was a good thing that he got to essentially cut his teeth on a close ally. Well, Great Britain needs partners more than it ever has, especially now, because it has decided to leave the European Union. It doesn't have the EU cush anymore to help pull its chestnuts out of the fire. Britain is trying to reorient itself as a let's fly solo country, a solo world power. So of course it wants to kiddy up to the United States and actually evolve closer ties with America now that Barack Obama is out of office. We have to remember that under the Obama administration, the so-called special relationship with Great Britain was kind of put on the back burner. In fact, Obama didn't think very highly of the British. In a rather awkward moment when he met the Queen, he actually gave the Queen an iPod full of his speeches. Talk about an act of humility. The Queen kind of accepted the gift and didn't really talk about it. Who knows if she bothered listening to them? You can only ask Obama why he took this kind of ridiculous, egotistical step. Then Obama removed the famous bust of Winston Churchill that the British had given as a gift to the United States. One of the first things Trump did when he occupied the White House as Obama's successor is to put that bust back in the Oval Office where historically it has always belonged. So the United States and Great Britain will reaffirm, or have already reaffirmed, their status of having a special relationship. Now they're going to get down to the fine minutia details to figure out how that definition or characterization of their relations on both the domestic and international fronts turns into tangible results. For example, when Trump goes ahead and presumably starts attacking the Islamic State terrorist group in cooperation with Russia, will Great Britain join that fight as well as a neutral or hardcore ally of the United States, right or wrong, and support that effort? Or will Britain join the rest of Europe and remain upset at Putin for illegally, according to international laws, annexing the Crimea? These are issues that are going to start to play themselves out this year. It's going to be very interesting because theoretically around March, Britain has to finally pull the trigger to begin the formal process to leave the European Union. It's going to take about 5 years for it to fully extract itself, overhaul all of its laws, and go back to being an island in the European continent area of things. No one knows what the future of Great Britain is going to be like, but the British do know that they've got to make their friends and allies very fast because they're under the clock to try to turn their ship around and make sure that it prospers even more now that it's going to go solo within the next 5 years.